Okay, so this is biology section 2 6.0. I have an overview PowerPoint, I guess we can call it, that will cover all of 6.1. And as you can see, 6.1 is kind of grande. So I'm going to go through that once and then do it again as the regular Promethean style with me writing and scribbling all over the place. So let me just go to this PowerPoint right. Alright, so as per usual, you're gonna go and make your notes in your book by copying down the bullet points from the syllabus, and then you're gonna move on. So here we go. This is B6. So, oopsies. The Describe the elements that make up carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. When they say elements, they mean the things on the periodic table. So what we'll notice is that carbohydrates, the answer's in the name, carbon, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Fats are actually made out of the exact same thing, which makes perfect sense. We burn carbohydrates for energy. We could also burn fat for energy, so that makes sense. Proteins are the same, except proteins have something a little bit different. They, oh, what a numpty. Ugh. They also have nitrogen, okay? So, and we call the nitrogen in the protein when it's connected the amide link. Sometimes that pops up, I don't know why, but nitrogen and amides, you'll very quickly learn that those two words go together. Alright, so carbohydrates are made out of, you need to know the words and the symbols. CHO, it's very difficult. C, oh, that's not C, that's H. O, and this is N. You know, it's going to be really hard to learn those. Moving on. Describe the synthesis of large. Okay, so starch, which is the energy source in plants, is made out of lots of small sugars called either glucose or fructose. They don't always separate it, but we'll stick with glucose. So if I take this little glucose molecule and I stick a lot of them together, especially for storage, I like to store things that way, it turns into something called starch, especially in plants. When starch stick a bunch of glucose together so they can store it, they make starch. When plants stick a lot of glucose together so they can store it, they store it as starch. Okay? Now, depending on the animal or how you stick it together, there are other ways to stick things together. Big example, plants make potatoes. Ha! Plants are potatoes. When they grow and grow and grow, they start to store their energy or their glucose as starch. If I take plants also take the glucose and tie it together a different way, and they make cellulose. Same idea. Cellulose is a bunch of glucose molecules stuck together in a different shape. And so plants store energy as starch, but they also use the same sugars to make cellulose. Humans cannot break down cellulose. Some animals can, like cows. They have multiple stomachs. The cellulose breaks down in the stomach. Humans don't. We pass cellulose through as fiber. So when you eat something that has lots of cellulose, like oatmeal or corn, for example, you eat corn and don't chew it, it's coming out as corn again because your body doesn't break it down. I have no idea. Yes, and that passes through as fiber. Alright, so we use cellulose as fiber. We don't break it down and get energy from it. 90% of the vegetables you eat just come out the other side. They clean you out. Okay? From middle school, you should understand how fiber works. It does not digest in the intestines. And what it does is it pushes the sludge on the walls of the intestines through. Makes you nice and healthy and happy. Okay? Now, humans, when we have glucose, we turn it into glycogen. Again, we take lots of glucose molecules and stick them together to make glycogen. And we store this in either muscles or in our liver, okay? Now, the prefix mono means one, and the prefix poly means many. So, glucose is a monosaccharide. And either not sucrose, cellulose, starch, or glycogen, they would be considered a polysaccharide. Okay? Or a monomer and a polymer, that's just a name. but we're looking at saccharides meaning sugar. So monosaccharide means one sugar. Monomer means it just has one piece. Okie dokie, does that make any sense? So glucose, when we have lots of it, we can make a bunch of different things with it. Cellulose, glycogen, or starch. If you're a plant, you're making cellulose and starch. If you're a human, you're making glycogen. Moving on. So carbohydrates are starches, cellulose, and glycogen. Those are our carbohydrates. When we eat carbohydrates, that's what we're eating. Alrighty? We cannot digest cellulose again. So, when we eat a carbohydrate, it goes into our body as starch. What we have are these lightning bolts, which are enzymes, and this enzyme is very specific. It's called amylase, and what it does is it breaks down the little bonds that connect all the starch together. Or the glucose together to make it starch. Now that these are free to run around, they become glucose again. The word maltose is there because if there's two glucose stuck together still, they will be considered maltose. Okay? So that's for 2-glucose. Sometimes the enzyme doesn't break it all down. It breaks it into 2s first, and then it breaks it into 1s. Alright? Proteins, same idea. When a protein is attacked by its enzyme, also known as a protease, the bonds break, and they turn into these individual amino acids. Okay? Many amino acids make a protein. Many glucose molecules make a carbohydrate. Okay? And then fat, the last one. The scientific word for fat is lipids. So it makes life a lot easier if you learn lipids. Lipids are attacked by an enzyme called lipase. Hey, now that makes sense. And it turns that fat molecule into 1 glycerol and 3 fatty acid tails. Okay? Food tests. You might have done a few of these in middle school. Your food test for starch is the iodine test. And the way it goes is, if there is starch present, it'll turn from brown, the iodine will turn from brown to a dark blue or a black. Okay? So for example, take a potato chip, throw some iodine on it, it'll turn blue-black. Why? Because it has starch in it. Oh, why would I not? Oh, bromine water is the other option. That should say iodine water. Why would I write bromine water? What an idiot. Ignore that one. You can also mix iodine with water and then throw the blended starch in there. So if I wanted to know there was starch in my drink, that should say iodine, that should say iodine. For the people that aren't actually listening. That should be iodine water, not bromine water. I was sleeping, sorry. For protein, it's the whatever that word is. I say BiologyII because it just sounds more fancy. BiologyII, Barrett, whatever. So the protein test, BiologyII solution, goes from blue to purple. FYI, feel free to YouTube or Google these tests because you need to know all the little bits and pieces as well. I'm not teaching that. Oh wait, I'm going through this again. This is just the way I remember BiologyII for protein is A, P and P for purple, and B, BiologyII actually has a lot of the letters from protein in it. T, I, E, the B looks like a P. I don't know. You better just learn it, Dan. I don't make any sense. So the BiologyII test, you add some protein to your solution. Hey, there was an animation there. And it slowly turns purple, okay? The last one is the Benedict solution, and that's for simple sugars. Why wouldn't I write sugars? The more sugar in the solution, the more orange it turns. Please note that this is Roy G. Biv backwards, alright? That was smart. Okay, so it's just Roy G. Biv backwards. So Benedict's solution, it needs to be warmed up, and it goes from blue to orange. Alright, so mix some sugar and some water. Put some Benedict solution in, put it in a warm water bath. I notice it slowly turns green, and then it turns orange. If it turns orange, there's a lot of sugar. If I only put a little bit of sugar, it will just stay green. And fats, there's 2 tests. The scientific one is the ethanol test. If you mix fat with ethanol, it goes from clear to cloudy. Okay. So there are 7 nutrients. Some people teach 6. I teach 7. Carbohydrates, fats, proteins, vitamins, minerals, water, and fiber. You need to know all 7, their sources, and what they do for you. Oh, I'm going to teach it. Carbohydrates are used as a ready source of energy. Think pasta, rice, and breads. Proteins are for growth and repair of cells and tissues. Hey, if this is going too fast, you could just pause it. Okay, you're looking at meats, legumes. Fats are used as long-term source of energy and protection of your organs. Oils and butters. Vitamin C is used for tissue repair and resistance to disease. If you don't have enough vitamin C, you develop something called scurvy, which is bleeding teeth and gums. It's a disease pirates used to get back in the day. They solved it by taking lemons on the boat. Vitamin D is is used to strengthen bones and teeth. If you don't have enough vitamin D, you develop rickets, which is like K-leggedness on steroids. This person's body weight pushes down, causing the legs to bow outwards. The mineral calcium is used to strengthen bones and teeth as well. If you don't have enough calcium, you develop osteoporosis, which is when your bones become less dense. The mineral iron is used in the formation of hemoglobin and red blood cells, which transport oxygen. So if you suddenly can't transport oxygen enough, you develop something called anemia, extreme tiredness, or the itis. Okay, there you go, a nice little table for you. Again, I'm going to go through these again one by one. This is just an overview one, so you can move on quickly. Fiber provides bulk to our food and absorbs poisons. Okay, we get it from cellulose. If you don't have enough fiber, you get constipated. And constipated is when too much water gets pulled out of your bowel movement and it just gets hard. This is for the how to make yogurt. What you do is you take some regular milk and you heat it up to kill all the germs. After you've killed all the germs, you add some yogurt germs and you seal it off. When you seal it off, those yogurt germs turn the milk, the lactose in the milk, they eat it, they make some acid, and that's why yogurt tastes the way it tastes. So delicious. So that is the overview video for B6. I'll be going through 6.1 in a bit more detail, but in all honesty, that really did cover all of it if you were able to read between the lines. The only thing you would have to add to that is for the food test, the steps in the food test. You actually have to know that. Okay, that's Biology 6.1. We're making some good time. Moving on. Neville out.